All right, y'all, this is incredible, and I had to talk to you about it real quick. So Trump is at the G7. Now, by the way, tune into the show later. You're not going to want to miss it, because when I tell you this thing was a mess, I mean this thing was a mess, okay? So we got Trump audibly farting as he's talking, maybe even sharting himself. You guys can be the judge later when I show you the clip. We also have him, his eyes 90% closed. He's wandering off in random directions. He looks like bloated. His voice is hoarse. He sounds like he's dying. I mean, this thing was a catastrophe. There's one point where Macron is like, all right, guys, let's take a picture with all the world leaders. He points at the camera. All the world leaders go to look at the camera. Trump sits there staring out into space in a different direction like this. So he is not doing well. His health is failing. I think he knows his health is failing. But one of the side effects of this, and again, tune into the show later. I'll show you a whole bunch of clips of, him basically falling apart in front of the world at the G7. But one of the side effects of him falling apart is, of course, his dementia has made it so he went from a low filter guy to a no filter guy. Now, oftentimes, he will accidentally blurt out the truth, okay? Well, what we got in a G7 press conference here is he sure did tell the truth about this memorandum of understanding with Iran. Okay, so at one point, he's asked about basically, us giving them $300 billion. And of course, they say, no, that's not tax money. That's like an investment fund. Well, I mean, that would be a corrupt investment fund where Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff get $1 quadrillion for, starting an illegal war and then trying to clean it up, right? Okay, well, Trump says at one point, when it comes to lifting the sanctions, right, unfreezing their funds and giving them that money, he says, that's not our money. That's their money. That's Iran's money. Yes, that's exactly right. And that was the case in the JCPOA when Obama gave them back their money that we stole from them. And you were shitting on it 24/7 and acting like that's unacceptable and acting like that's insane. Now you're basically saying, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do the same thing Obama did. Okay, good. I want you to give them back their money that we stole. But you should have said the same shit about Obama because he did the same thing and he was right to do the same thing. Okay, so let's keep going. He also admits he feels like he had no choice but to end the war because, quote, we would have run out of oil. We would have run out of oil reserves in about 4 weeks. Yes, that's what we've been saying. That's what every expert has been pointing out. And you've been denying it to this point. So Trump on March 9th said, we're now totally independent of the Middle East. We don't need their oil. On April 1st, he said, it doesn't really affect us. We have so much oil. We have tremendous oil and gas, much more than we need. And then now, June 17th, he said, we would run out of reserves in about 4 weeks. We would really run out. And there'll be a time when you wouldn't be able to get it. And he goes on to say, it would be bedlam if he ran out of oil. Okay, yes, exactly. That is true. But what the fuck? Why were you lying all along until this point when you accidentally blurt out the truth? When you say, look, I really have no option. We're going to run out of oil. That means shortages. That means rationing. That means skyrocketing prices for absolutely everything. And the fact of the matter is we're still going to have gas go up. We're still going to, I think, run out of oil even if the Strait of Hormuz fully opens, because it's going to take a while for that oil to get from there to here. But this is Trump acknowledging a geopolitical reality that before he wasn't acknowledging. And again, I think it's because the dementia is so bad, now he just blurts out the factual reality here, where normally he would lie. Okay, more. Trump endorses Iran having ballistic missiles. He's asked about it and he says, I'm saying that if other countries have them, it's a little unfair for them not to have some. Yes, that's exactly right. And when all of us said that previously, you called us appeasers. You called us terrorists. You said we're being un-American. Now you're acknowledging the truth that the principle of universality matters. That like what makes sense for one person makes sense for everybody. And that's the way you need to act in diplomatic negotiations. So by the way, the Zionists are losing their fucking minds about all this. All right, more. Trump came out and said, Hamas actually behaved pretty well. True. In other words, Israel keeps violating every single ceasefire that's been made. Hamas has actually been listening. Okay. He also says about nuclear enrichment for Iran when he's asked about it, quote, it's a little hard when other people have it, other adjoining states have it, and you're not letting them have it for purposes of electricity and things like that. You have to use a little common sense. Again, that's exactly correct, but you shat on Obama relentlessly when he acknowledged that, when he allowed nuclear enrichment simply for power for their power grid and scientific research. Now you're saying, I'm going to do the same thing Obama did, but when I do it, it's good. Oh my days, bro. Oh my days. Okay. Then he says, If the deal works out, the memorandum of understanding, I'm going to take the credit. If it doesn't work out, I'll be blaming JD. That is exactly what he's going to do, and he's fundamentally incapable now of having any filter whatsoever. So he just blurts it out. Okay. We also have Howard Nutlick has been giggling and chuckling in the background at every single thing Trump has said. And when Trump decides to attack Netanyahu and say, we're the really big partner, he's the really little partner, Howard Nutlick's face, stone cold flat. He goes from giggling and laughing to, oh, don't do that. Which, of course, raises questions, because many people have said, they've speculated, that Howard Nutlick is basically Trump's Israeli handler, and he's certainly acting like it in this instance, where he's laughing at everything, except when Trump goes after Netanyahu, albeit mildly, and says, like, you're the little bro, I'm the big bro, so you better fall the fucking line. Look, like I said, he accidentally was telling the truth all over the place in there. It sounded like President Noam Chomsky or President Kaczynski for a hot second. But here's the thing, y'all. I wouldn't bet on any of these things being permanent things, because he could just flip his position the next day. He could just be, whipped into line by the Israeli lobby or the military-industrial complex or the war hawks that surround him. You guys know, nothing with Trump is permanent. He'll flip-flop like a fish fresh out of water. So I wouldn't bet anything on it. But the fact of the matter is, as I always tell you, we waged an illegal war against a country that didn't attack us. We bombed schools and hospitals and bridges and steel plants and all kinds of civilian infrastructure. And this deal that we're talking about here absolutely is a surrender document. But that's good. We should surrender. We should surrender in shame and disgrace. And the problem, as I see it, is that Netanyahu is going to rat-fuck the deal. He's already rat-fucking the deal. And there's virtually no chance Trump actually sticks to the terms. None whatsoever. I should point out, there's actually a new theory as to why Trump is going down this path, and it comes from Secretary Blinken, and he says that we just simply ran out of munitions, that, we just don't have the weapons anymore to keep doing this, and so there was, no other choice. That's his theory. I don't know if that's true. I know we have a shortage. I don't know if we're at the point where it's basically we're donezo. It's zero, right? And then, finally, bro, the Zionists are losing their goddamn mind. Mark Levin is out there raging out. He is so furious that Trump is saying these things now and sounding like me in this moment, because his dementia makes it so he has to tell the truth now with no filter. He's out there saying the American people are demanding that you continue the war. That is completely and utterly made up. It's 30% approval rating for this war or something like that. So he honestly belongs in a mental institution. He needs some Thorazine. He needs a straitjacket. And then we also have the so-called centrist outlet, Barry Weiss's Free Press. They're out there calling to, quote, dust off the nukes and maybe test one. So to say there's a Zionist freakout is the understatement of the century. You need a wellness check on Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin and Netanyahu and the fucking Barry Weiss and the Free Press and all these assholes, because they are going to do anything and everything they can to try to rat fuck this deal and get us back in a hot war with Iran. They want the endless war. That's the whole point. They want to destroy Iran and make it so it's fucking uninhabitable and it just collapses as a functioning state, and so they can dominate the region and create the greater Israel project. That's really the goal here. That's really the goal. But quite a moment, man, with Trump accidentally telling the truth. Like I said, I wouldn't bet anything on it. He'll probably flip-flop his position in 17 minutes, never mind in a day or two. But it is a glorious thing to see. Tune into the show later. You'll see a bigger breakdown of the G7 summit amid many other things, including a new report about how Epstein was obsessed with taking down Trump right before he died. Interesting. See y'all later. All right, y'all, welcome to the show. Hope everybody out there is having a great day. All I have to say is, prepare yourself. It's about to get wild up in here, because we have a new bombshell report out where apparently Jeffrey Epstein was obsessed with taking down Trump right before his death. Let me repeat that. He was digging for dirt and trying to take down Trump right before his death. I'll let you draw your own conclusions. We're going to talk about that. We also have Trump at the G7 summit. He looks like absolute death. He looks like he's 7 minutes from a colossal heart attack. Not only that, seemingly on a day-by-day basis now, he's getting more and more bisexual. And his lack of filter is now manifesting in him basically talking about dicks and loads and telling men they're gorgeous. I wish I was kidding. I'm not kidding. So we'll get into that as well. Hillary Clinton also breaks her silence and stuns a crowd with her new Trump comments. I got to be honest, these comments even surprised me. And then later on, we have a Zionist black man, Coleman Hughes, who works for Barry Weiss's The Free Press. He makes an argument against equal rights and for apartheid. Yes, I've now seen it all. We have a black man arguing against equal rights and in favor of apartheid. Incredible, incredible stuff. So we have all that and more. You guys know the drill, man. Do me a big favor, subscribe to the channel and click that bell icon. You can also support the show on Patreon. Thank you to everybody who does support the show on Patreon. We could not do it without you. Remember, y'all, this is real independent media. I've never talked to an advertiser or done an ad read, and I never will, and you guys made that possible. So much love from the bottom of my heart. Also, sign up for Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. Link belowski. And go sub to Corin's World, where, of course, we do live Kyle and Corin episodes every Monday night. Okay, let's start here, y'all. Let's start here. In the New York Post, Jeffrey Epstein was obsessed with trying to take down Trump before suicide, report says. This kind of seems like it should be a bigger deal, doesn't it? Why aren't more people talking about this? I'm losing my damn mind. I don't know why more people aren't talking about this. This is crazy to me. Now, I'm going to warn you in advance. This is a right-wing outlet, and so they try to bias the shit out of this. They'll say, like, oh, Epstein, bro? He couldn't even find any dirt on Trump, bro. I mean, he tried, but he couldn't find any. Really? Are we really doing this in the year 2026? Are we really pretending like, oh, Trump, he's got such a squeaky clean record, we couldn't find... He's so dirty, there's a literal Wikipedia page just dedicated to the sexual assault allegations against Trump. It's like 27 or 30 something. Like, he's got a ridiculous number of allegations against him. But here, we'll go through some of this New York Post piece here. Jeffrey Epstein was obsessed with trying to take down Trump before suicide, report says. Child sex offender Jeffrey Epstein tried to dig up dirt on President Trump in a desperate bid for leniency in the days leading up to his suicide, but was unable to deliver anything of substance, according to the report. Ah, yes, I'm sure he was not able to find anything at all. By the way, Trump asked Epstein to be in his administration in the first term. This was an underreported fact that we learned from the Epstein files. Or actually, it was from like Epstein's butler or something like that. That guy went to the media and said that Epstein told him Trump asked Epstein to be in his first regime. And the reason he did is, of course, because he knows how much dirt Epstein has on him, and he was trying to keep him quiet. He was trying to keep him quiet by keeping him happy, giving him a job, giving him some money, right? Paying him back. Like, look, you got a lot of dirt on me. You know where all the bodies are buried. Like, here, we're cool, right? That's what that was. But in this report, they're like, oh, he couldn't even get anything, bro. There was like nothing out there about Trump. Oh, yes, I'm sure there's nothing out there about Trump. Epstein became fixated on the president after he was arrested in 2019 as his lawyers tried to hammer out a deal with prosecutors if the disgraced financier could provide helpful information about other defendants, according to the New York Times. During his many marathon meetings with his parade of lawyers while he was locked up in a federal jail in Lower Manhattan, Epstein had his nose buried in a legal pad, scrawling disjointed one-liners about the commander-in-chief, such as, Trump is a total con artist, fact check, true, smoke and mirrors, and never had money. Well, that one is not true because he inherited a shitload of money from his dad. But in terms of himself personally, yes, he's a shitty businessman and he's an idiot and he had 6 business bankruptcies and like he just coasted off of his name. The only thing he did that was profitable was becoming part of a reality show. He complained it was impossible to mount a defense with the continuous noise emanating from the special housing unit at the now shuttered Metropolitan Correctional Center where he was confined. Epstein alleged in his jottings that the guards would have turned a blind eye to any acts of violence against him, even telling his cellmate, convicted murderer and ex-New York cop Nicholas Tartaglione, if he beat the shit out of me, they wouldn't file a report. And by the way, we know there was violence against him. And he says that his cellmate, I think Tartaglione, tried to hang him or tried to kill him before he wound up dead. Now remember, this guy was like a hitman beforehand and allegedly had done violence against like pedophiles, which is exactly what Epstein is. And so all these fucking things line up perfectly here. Epstein was found dead in a cell on August 19th. The floor was littered with nooses and noose-making materials. Trump and Epstein were friendly during the 1980s and 90s. Subpoenaed flight logs from the disgraced financier's private jet confirmed the future president flew on his aircraft at least 7 times between 1993 and 1997, though never to his notorious private Caribbean island. That's not true. He went there at least once, and he was with Tiffany, his daughter. So already another thing in this article that is not true. But the core of the claims here, the core claim, I should say, is he was obsessed with trying to take down Trump right before his suicide, which I don't know about you, but if you change the partisan nature of the presidency and you say it was Bill Clinton or Barack Obama or Joe Biden, and it's under that presidency that you have Epstein arrested and Epstein winds up dead while in federal custody, it is a virtual guarantee every single Republican will be out there saying, oh, obviously the president killed Jeffrey Epstein. Obviously. But when it's Trump, everybody goes, Jeffrey Epstein? I don't know no damn Jeffrey Epstein, man. I don't know about Jeffrey Epstein, bro. I don't know no damn Jeffrey Epstein, bro. Bro, he's 100% involved in this shit. 100%. There is so much sketchy stuff. Right now, I would say the Occam's razor position, the default perspective you should have, until proven otherwise, unless and until proven otherwise, is that Trump had something to do with his death and probably directly ordered his death. The Shallow State says, the fact that the Epstein estate actually paid a settlement to one of the women who alleged that Donald Trump raped her as a minor, and it was paid after Epstein died, as told under oath by Epstein's longtime accountant, should be a more significant story. The fact that Trump said he wasn't ever on Epstein's plane and now we found out he was, should be a more significant story. The fact that senior officials gathered in the Situation Room to concoct and coordinate an Epstein cover-up is a significant story and being treated as such, but in light of all the rest and his behavior throughout, it should be the end of his presidency. That is exactly right. You know what else should be a big story? Jeffrey Epstein was obsessed with trying to take down Trump before his suicide. By the way, Wired released this. More than 200 of the world's elites registered for a retreat whose agenda runs from panels on cult building and sex to preparing for World War III. An associated app offers matchmaking. What the fuck? Melanie D'Arrigo says, it should be bigger news that Jeffrey Epstein's billionaire associate, who is contracted to build Trump's mass surveillance state, is hosting a secretive retreat with other oligarchs to discuss cult building, World War III, prepping, and get sex tips. Epstein Island never ended. Fonz Flacco responds and said, I found an invitation to the same retreat in 2014 in the Epstein files. Invitation to Peter Thiel's 2014 dialogue retreat. Email says it's 100% off the record. Giant list of names include CEOs, congressmen, former U.S. officials, and more. You're invited to join us at the dialogue retreat. 150 people to change the world. A participatory and entrepreneurial conversation on changing the world. The dialogue participants aren't modest. We want to change the world, but we don't want to spend our time being in a large audience listening to winded speeches. There are no speakers, no panels. All attendees participate in breakout facilitated discussions, and we limit the discussion to only 150 global leaders who can have an impact now and emerging leaders who can help implement the plans we develop. So this reminds me of the picture. Remember the picture? Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, all the billionaires at that dinner in 2011 that Jeffrey Epstein himself put together. You remember that? How about this? Prepare yourself. Clash Report shares a piece here. Besant, Cruz, Musk, Kushner among leaked member list of secretive society. A massive data leak exposed Dialogue, a secretive society for over 200 global elites, revealing off-the-record retreats and matchmaking app. So what you're looking at, remember how back in the day in the 90s, you'd have Alex Jones, the Illuminati is the problem, the Illuminati, they're coming to get the Bilderbergs, the Rothschilds, the Illuminati, they're getting together, and they're trying to make a new world order, and they're trying to replace you, and they're trying to shove you in a hobbit home like Agenda 21, and they're going to build a giant surveillance state, and they're going to save themselves and usher in the end times while you're left behind to die and rot. Well, apparently, that shit is real, but it's called Dialogue, and it's all of Elon Musk's friends. It's all of Elon Musk's friends. It's the Epstein affiliate network, the Epstein class. It's all the elites. It includes politicians. It includes billionaires. It includes business people. It's a secret society, and they're all getting together to plan for the end of days. And remember, Peter Thiel was the one who just fled this fucking country. He just went to Argentina not that long ago. Look at what's happening, bro. This is terrifying shit. This is absolutely terrifying shit. And as I laid out for you, the more I read about this, the more it becomes apparent to me that Donald Trump had a direct hand in killing Jeffrey Epstein, and that the Epstein network is still working. It is still in business. It is still ongoing. There is still a massive child sex trafficking ring among elites. The question is, how many actual Jeffrey Epsteins are out there? And the answer is probably very disturbing, because, you know, these these wealthy freaks, perverts and freaks, need to be satiated, and they have all the money in the world to be able to fulfill their disgusting desires. So let's remember, even though that report said, oh, there's not that much dirt on Trump. They couldn't find anything. Epstein was looking. He couldn't find anything on Trump. That man knew everything about Trump. Everything about Trump. He was on audio records saying, I was his best friend for over a decade. He said that to Michael Wolff. We know, we heard it. Okay? We know he was on the plane 8 times. We know that the first time Trump and Melania had sex was on the Lolita Express. We know that Epstein knew the inner workings of Trump's administration, which show, by the way, he's tied into intelligence for sure. He's tied into Mossad intelligence and maybe even maybe Russian intelligence as well, perhaps even U.S. intelligence as well. But this guy knew everything. He knew everything. Do yourself a favor. Go look up the Trump Princess Riverboat Casino in Lake Michigan and see what the FBI intake form said about that in the Epstein files. Okay? Go learn about Dusty, the girl from Oklahoma who was found with her head blown off in 2000. And the cops didn't think that it was suicide, and there were allegations made that she made against Trump. Do yourself a favor and look at the Katie Johnson allegations. Okay? You're telling me that Epstein couldn't find anything when he was literally cited in the same lawsuit? It was Epstein and Trump that were sued by Katie Johnson, where she says, when I was 13 years old, I was raped. She says that. Okay, we know Epstein has an email from 2011 where he says Trump is at my house with one of the victims and he's been there for hours. So Epstein has pictures and videos of Trump. He had everything. And that's why he's no longer with us. That's why he's no longer here. It's just crazy to think that the person who is directly responsible for axing Epstein still is in the White House, still has all the power, and the network is still functioning. Just mind-boggling stuff. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to. All right, so Donald Trump went to this G7 summit, and when I tell you he looks like absolute death, I mean it. Not only does he look like death, he also sounds like death. So it sounds like he's got a cold on top of all the other health issues he's dealing with. He's rotting away in front of us, both physically and mentally. He's becoming decrepit. He also looks like bloated, almost like he has like rigor mortis. He's like a corpse that's like bloating in the sun or something. Like you see a deer on the side of the road after it got hit by a car and it's like fucking stiffening up and bloating. Like he looks like that. So they're hiding so much from us, man. I cannot wait until we get the tell-all books. I wish they'd come out now, but I cannot wait to get all the specifics to know just how bad it actually is. But he goes to this G7 summit, and it's a fucking catastrophe, bro. I mean, I'm talking other world leaders are looking at each other like, the fuck is he okay? Like, what's happening here? He doesn't know whether he's coming or going, and I got a lot to show you. So first, shout out to Midas Touch. Let's listen to this breakdown right here.
So I've been watching Trump for the past day or so at this G7 summit in France, and there's clearly something going on with his health. He's looked awful. I mean, just look at him in this picture trying to sit down. It did not go well for him. His voice has been incredibly hoarse. He keeps walking in the wrong directions. He doesn't seem to know where he is at times, what's going on at times. His ankles look incredibly swollen. I mean, let's just go through some of the things I've noticed. First, there was this photo, and if you zoom in on Donald Trump's hand, you can see that once again, he's got the makeup caked on. Here's another shot of his hand from today.
What the fuck? What is that, bro? What is that? First of all, he looks horrible here. He looks like he's slowly morphing into Miss Doubtfire. I have a theory that all old white men slowly morph into Miss Doubtfire. I'm dreading the day that I look in the mirror and I go, Miss Doubtfire. Like I've hit the Doubtfire phase of being an old white man. But he looks horrible here, but look at the hand that you're about to see. Watch this
photo, and if you zoom in on Donald Trump's hand, you can see that once again, he's got the makeup caked on. Here's another shot.
What is this? What the fuck is this? I've never even seen some shit like this. What are those lines? Bro's hand is morphing into like leather or something. Oh my days. What did he like put like a latex fucking like Band-Aid or some shit over it to try to make it look like it's his hand because it's so that discolored? I don't even know what's going on, bro.
Shot of his hand from today. And so that was just his right hand. When you look at his left hand, you see that he has this little weird mark right over here.
What is that? Looks like a cut. It looks like a cut, like he got like cut.
There's a quick close-up for you.
What the fuck is that? What are they doing? Are they bloodletting this man like we live in 1789? Is that what's happening?
Here's a photo that Ukrainian President Zelensky posted on his social media, but let's zoom in for a second. Once again...
Oh, man, hold up. He looks like Jabba the Hutt, straight up. Look at this. He looks like Jabba the Hutt.
That Ukrainian President Zelensky posted on his social media, but let's zoom in for a second. Once again, you see that intense swelling in his ankles.
Oh, no. Guys, like I told you, they said it was chronic venous insufficiency, but what they didn't tell you is, if it's chronic venous insufficiency, okay, if it's that, what would happen is it would have been there for a while, okay? The fact that it came on, it's acute, the swelling is acute, means it's almost certainly tied to congestive heart failure. That's what they say. That's what doctors say. The fact that we never saw this before, and then now it happened like that, means it's probably tied to congestive heart failure, which wouldn't be surprising. He eats like absolute shit, and he's 80 and obese.
Then there was this moment where he needed Indian Prime Minister Modi to help him get up a tiny little step.
Oh!
This moment after a photo where he starts wandering in the wrong direction.
Oh!
You could see Macron and the other leaders say, other side, you're going in the wrong way, and to redirect him. Then there was this strange moment where he grabs Brigitte Macron's hand and doesn't let go.
What the fuck is this?
He seems to completely lack the strength in his right hand to do his typical handshake. There was also this moment where the world leaders were posing for a photo around this table, and Trump just doesn't seem to know where he is at all. He's just standing there looking off to the side while everybody else is posing.
Oh no. Oh no. Macron tells everybody, like, look, the camera's over there. Everybody smile, everybody face the camera. And Trump just sits there staring out into nothingness. What the fuck?
Table, and Trump just doesn't seem to know where he is at all. He's just standing there looking off to the side while everybody else is posing.
Oh
He's just
no.
standing there, not moving, doesn't seem to know where he is. Not reacting at all. And here's how that final photo turned out, courtesy of
I'm not
Reuters.
even looking
You can
there.
see Trump here, staring off to the side. Then you can see here, as French President Macron is speaking, Trump is struggling to keep his eyes open.
If we provide peace and development, and so we are ready to take our fair share of the burden and be part of the commitment of the international community in order to support this deal. And we will discuss about that together and with colleagues later on. But it's a very important step.
And you can just hear it in his voice here.
Why are you even bothering? Because it's not really valuable. It's, it's probably $500,000 worth. It's not very valuable stuff. But I think psychologically we want to get it.
Let's be honest, if any single one of these happened with Joe Biden, they'd be running this on the media like a loop, nonstop, over and over again.
Tap Jaker? Huh? Where's your fucking book on Trump, you bitch?
We're going to keep tracking this and more, so make sure you're following our account.
Okay, so I also have this. Ready? Trump, for whatever reason, as he's become a no-filter guy instead of a low-filter guy because of his, cognitive issues, because he's dealing with dementia or he's dealing with Alzheimer's or whatever, he was always a low-filter guy, but now he has none at all. None. So one of these things that's been happening recently is he can't stop talking about how sexy he thinks different men are, right? He was just, what was it? He was at like a John Deere factory or something the other day, and there was some Olympian there. He's like, look at this guy. He goes, I forgot to touch his leg. He's got big, strong legs. I forgot to touch his leg. Everybody's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Why would you touch his leg? And now here he is, and he's talking about Modi, to Modi's face, and listen to what he says here.
He's a very tough negotiator. He's one of the toughest, actually. So you look at this man. I'll give you a lesson. He's the most beautiful looking man. He looks so nice. He's like an angel. But actually, he's as tough as he's a killer. I don't want to. He's a killer. He's as tough as they come. But he looks so good. So he gets you by surprise.
What, bro? You're president of the United States, bro. Imagine, take every word Trump just said and imagine Barack Obama saying that shit. He's actually he's a killer, but he's a beautiful man. He's a very good-looking man. Like, there's no shot. Okay. Still not done, though, because, again, this is one of the side effects, seemingly. This is one of the side effects, bro. And listen, here he is now, getting homoerotic again.
So he was in a hotel.
He's talking about President Sisi of Egypt now.
And I met him. And we fell in love, deeply in love. And he didn't even want to see Hillary.
Somebody said, isn't this the plot of Forgetting Sarah Marshall? No! Oh no, Don, what are you doing? He also has done this bit about fucking North Korea. We fell in love. Me and Kim Jong-un, we exchanged letters. So as the Lincoln Project posted here, Trump's bisexuality slipping out and Trump's dementia getting worse. And that's the line on the graph. Oh no. All right, but the homoeroticism is still not done yet, because here he is by the plane, and listen to what he says here.
The press conference seems to have gone well. You shot your load pretty much, Steve, right? Pretty much. But going well. Seems like the agreement's very well undertow.
You shot your load pretty much, Steve, didn't you? You should shoot your load on me. Shoot your load on my titties. My big Trump titties. I have the best Trump titties you've ever seen, like Brian Noam's titties. We got big Trump titties, just like Brian Noam's titties. Shoot your load, Steve. I like it when Steve shoots his load.
Oh, no. Oh, Lord, no. Please stop it. Whatever this is, I don't like it. I don't like it. One more time.
The press conference seems to have gone well. You shot your load pretty much, Steve, right?
We got homoeroticism towards Modi, homoeroticism towards Sisi, homoeroticism towards the guy at the John Deere factory who was the fucking Olympian, and how many times...
Better looking than Tom Cruise. This guy, tough guy, strong guy. Big, strong guy. Now, that's a big guy.
Remember when he was doing a rally and he was like,
look at all you in that front row. I'll kiss you. I'll kiss all of you. Man and woman. I'll kiss all of you. I'll kiss all of you on the lips.
remember that? I'm telling you, as he loses his ability to get a filter because of the dementia, all this shit comes out more and more and more. Okay, here's the picture of Obama at the G7 versus Trump. Look at this. All of them together, laughing, fucking having a good time. And then here's Trump, fucking isolated, standing alone, wandering off in random directions, okay? We also have, God, again, this happens to old people. This happens to old people. But Trump is doing a press conference at the G7 and accidentally farts, sharts, shits. Not quite sure, but something's going on here, bro. Something's going on. And this is why there were all those theories about dude wears a diaper, right? There are people who work with him at the Apprentice who said even back then he wore a diaper. Listen to this.
I said, well, what am I going to do? Am I going to let Saudi Arabia have missiles, but they can't have them? Yes, sir. Doesn't work that way, you know? It doesn't work that way. And missiles are...
Did you hear it? Did you hear it?
But they can't have them? Yes, sir. Doesn't work that way, you know? It doesn't work that way. And
by the way, people have said for years that he smells like shit, that they don't like being around him because he smells like absolute shit. I showed you the videos of the people who worked on The Apprentice who said that he wore diapers all the time, that he abused uppers his whole life, and that made it so he doesn't have as good control of his bowels as he needs to. Anybody who's done uppers, cocaine, for example, makes people shit, right? If he's snorting Adderall out there, it makes you shit. Apparently, he lost control of his bowels at some point. Now he's out there. Bro, it never ends. It never ends. It's always, you know,
straight out of Central Cat. Look at that big, strong guy. I want to touch that big, strong guy. We fell in love. He's a big, beautiful, he's a beautiful...
out there fucking ripping ass and whatnot. This guy's supposed to represent our country. Mind you, he's fallen asleep in all the fucking meetings. He's up all night tweeting about Lord knows what, posting AI slop images, right, of him as Jesus or whatever the fuck. And then here he is during the day, falling asleep, farting, shitting himself, talking about shooting loads left and right. I mean, for the love of God, bro. For the love of God. I can't with this anymore, but I'm still not done because now, shout out to ASIN for this. He says, I overlaid yesterday's footage of Trump wandering off at the G7 on this video of Hannity describing Biden as dazed and confused at the G7. Yeah, I'm sure Fox News is going to be out there in full effect, telling you the truth that, hey man, Trump does not look good. His voice is bad. He looks like shit. He looks bloated. He can't stay awake during the day. He's falling asleep all the time during the day. At night, he can't sleep at all. He's talking about, about how sexy the men are around him. He's shitting himself. He's wandering off in different directions. I'm sure Fox is going to give us the truth, right?
Biden got dazed and confused. How shocking. And started to just, wander off like that as other G7 leaders looked on in agony, desperate for somebody to bring Joe back into the fold. Luckily, Italy's prime minister very graciously helped Biden get back to the group.
He's got that old man like mouth thing going now too. And they say this is evidence of mini strokes, right? Remember when he was like falling asleep at that public event and one side of his mouth was just drooping all the way down? And somebody was saying that's a sign that he's been dealing with mini strokes. Now he gets tired and he goes, he's got the old man face on it. So, bro, I don't know, man, but this is not good. This is not good. I don't know how. I'm worried about 2026. I'm worried about 2028. But fact of the matter is, the smart money is on him not making it to 2028. Because remember they were showing that picture of the Queen and she had the bruise on her hand, right? Same area where Trump has his shit. And they said this is literally like 2 days before she died. And Trump's been having those bruises now for what, 6 months? And so, like, I'm just saying, bro. I'm just saying, homie's got 1.5 feet in the grave skis right now. 1.5 feet. Just, one more shart, one more aggressive shart, and his heart might just stop working, right? One more fart, one more strong, beautiful, sexy man who he fell in love with, and he might just keel over and die. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to. So Hillary Clinton has come out. She's broken her silence, and she is talking about the Trump regime, and she has some genuinely shocking comments here that I want to share with you. So first, let's start with this one. She's going to be asked about her infamous deplorables moment, where she said that about half of Trump supporters are basically irredeemable deplorables, and there's no hope in changing their mind or reaching out to them or trying to make them better people. So let's start with this, and then we'll break it down for you, and I got a lot more.
How has your understanding of his support evolved? You were criticized a lot, like probably rightly, for using the word deplorables for many of his followers. But how do you view the evolution of his followers and what it is that they want most of all from him?
Well, first of all, I said only about half were...
By the way, let me just say right now, officially on the record, I owe Hillary an apology on this specific issue. Because I remember criticizing her at the time and saying, look, don't say that. It's stupid. It's wrong. From an electoral perspective, you could still make an argument against it that, perhaps it's not the best idea to say that in the sense of trying to win more votes, that, you'll get fewer crossover votes to the extent there were any to begin with. But it was 100% correct. At this late date, that is undeniably true. Undeniably true. Because look at Trump's approval rating today. It's between 32% and 35%. And after everything Trump has done, all the criminality, all the fucking war crimes, all the corruption, all the building the concentration camps and sending immigrants there, being in the Epstein files, all this, war criminal, pedophile, rapist, and 32% of the country goes, I'm still with that guy? Nah. She's right. That's deplorable. And that's irredeemable. There's no fucking saving you. Maybe we can whittle that bitch down to 25%. But, I'm sorry, I have zero sympathy for those people, and I'm not interested in reaching out to those people. I'm interested in reaching out to everybody else, everybody that's not those people. So she was right, I was wrong, and she should double down on that bitch aggressively, because now it's just factual, right? When we were having the conversation before, it was a little bit up in the air, is it true, is it not true? I guess we need more time to see what Trump does and how they react. Now there's nothing up in the air about it. She was right. Half of Trump supporters are fucking irredeemable deplorables. And I could use even stronger terms than that, and I should use even stronger terms than that, but I don't want to get banned.
Well, are you doubling down on deplorables?
But I have to say...
Why is this guy acting like it's a gotcha? She absolutely should double down on it, and you should be ashamed of yourself if you don't agree with her.
I gave a speech, for example, about something called the alt-right, which, the press had no idea what I was talking about. Certainly the public had no idea what I was talking about. But, I was beginning to see this really disturbing rhetoric. Racist rhetoric, sexist rhetoric, the kind of authoritarian, demagogic claims about our politics. And it worried me. So, I tried to kind of put that into the political debate, but I also did try to, draw a line between those who were following him because of that. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a bug, it was the feature. They wanted to follow someone who was, demeaning President Obama.
In other words, what she's saying is some people hopped on board with Trump because of the racism and the bigotry and the xenophobia and all the horrible stuff. People like David Duke, who were out there openly supporting Trump when Trump pretended not even to know who David Duke was. But there's a difference between those people who supported Trump and the ones who didn't like that stuff but overlooked it because of other things he was saying that they agreed with. Maybe the anti-war stuff that he was saying at the time, or maybe we're going to keep the jobs in the country and not outsource them. That shit. So she herself is making that distinction. And I think that distinction, especially at the time, is 100% correct. But now, Yeah, I'm sorry. If you're still with Trump, you're deplorable. No doubt about it.
Was, making claims about me, saying things like, the Second Amendment, people will take care of her. I mean, terrible things that were in that campaign against me, and people didn't take it seriously. People were like, oh, that's just Donald. He's just...
Yeah, it's a consistent problem we have with Trump, is that he says so much insane shit and does so much insane shit that it becomes like people, their moral outrage meter breaks, and it's not calibrated properly anymore, and they don't react properly to outrageous things because it's just added to the list of the 17 other outrageous things today. And he sort of has broken our ability to, he's normalized the most atrocious shit. So, it's hard to work up outrage for almost anything at that point. And she's right about this.
Just spouting off, don't worry about it. I saw something darker, but, I was in not the strongest position since I was running against him to make that case. So I was trying to say, look, I understand there are people who believe that kind of stuff, but most of the people, at least half, who are, following him, they want change. They are not satisfied with where we are in the country. They want, a different economic reality. He's promising all of this.
But it's interesting that she's saying this because that was the core failure of her campaign, is that she basically ran as I'm the establishment. I'm the continuation of the status quo. And I'm the experienced leader. So you're acknowledging that his outsiderness was a benefit, but you didn't try to counter that by saying he's lying about being an outsider, or counter that by saying, actually, my policies are more outsider and better for the people. You fed into the narrative that, I'm the establishment. So that was a tactical error on her part, but we're not done yet because she continues, and she is asked about whether or not he lost his fastball. Here we go.
Over a long period of time, you've debated him 3 times. You've observed him very carefully, obviously. Is he disintegrating? He just turned 80.
I think he is certainly not what he was. He doesn't come across, at least in the way that he presents himself, with as much energy, falls asleep in lots of public meetings. I mean, poor Joe Biden. I mean, shut his eyes, once or twice, but Donald Trump is falling asleep all the time these days. But part of that is he stays up.
I think it's probably true that at this point, Trump has fallen asleep more in public than Biden has, even though Biden did it probably a number of times as well.
All night posting on Truth Social. So he's not.
Bro, that's dementia, right? The part of his brain that regulates the circadian rhythm is falling apart. It's broken down. And so now he's awake all night and he wants to sleep all day. These are all signs.
Not getting enough sleep anyway, which is pretty disturbing because I don't think people who are sleep deprived make good decisions on top of everything else. But I really think he has a number of traits that have gotten, more obvious. He doesn't even try to hide them. His impulsivity, his immaturity, his lack of curiosity about anything going on around him. That when he launched the war against Iran, and then out of the White House you hear that nobody told me about the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, nobody told me they could close the Strait of Hormuz. Where is the Strait of Hormuz? You can't make it up. It's like some movie that you walk out of because it's so outlandish.
Dr. Strangelove.
It's amazing to me how much better a communicator a lot of people are as soon as the pressure's off, right? The pressure's off Hillary here. She's not running for anything anymore. And so now she's answering questions and it sounds like refreshingly honest, right? Okay, not done though, because now what she says the quiet part loud here and points out, bro, Netanyahu tried to pressure literally all of us, dog. Tried to pressure all of us to go to war against Iran. And we knew how to handle it because we're not fucking idiots. We weren't dog-walked like you were, Trump. Watch this.
Well, you're absolutely right. When I was secretary, it was a constant, theme by Netanyahu and his then government, the then defense minister, Ehud Barak, the former prime minister. It was relentless. It was a constant push. I remember...
what would he say to you?
What?
What would he say to you?
He would basically say, you need to support us in attacking Iran. And back then, this was, 2009 to the end of 2012, we had more capacity than Israel did on several fronts to do that. And so there was a constant argument that we would have. And I remember one day I was on the phone for hours with Ehud, with Bibi, with others, and they would say things like, our planes are on the tarmac. And I'd say, well, good luck. I mean, great. Why are you doing this?
Holy shit. This is a huge deal. She's breaking news here. She's basically saying when they tried to turn the screws on us and they tried to get us to do their dirty work and attack Iran for them, they would twist our arms and say and use deceit and be like, oh, look, our planes are ready to take off. They're on the tarmac. We're about to attack Iran. And she says her response, good luck with that. And remember something, guys. Hillary's no dove. Everybody knows Hillary's no dove. She supported the war in Iraq. She was pro the regime change in Libya. She's been very hawkish on Iran. But even she's saying, I wasn't going to get dog walked by Netanyahu.
And, you would say things.
You're saying you were being played
all the time. All the time. I mean,
by an ally that receives an enormous amount of aid.
Let me just say, and this is the biggest difference between Democrats and Republicans, is just the intelligence level and the competence level. Like, to say that Democrats are more the adults in the room, like they're just more mature, they're just more intelligent, I think that's undeniable, right? And this is the biggest difference. Like, with a Republican, you get genuine dipshits. You get like actual idiots who are a mess. With Democrats, despite all their flaws and ideological differences I have with many of them, even Hillary Clinton, who I've had so many issues with, here she is, and it's just like, yeah, we knew they were trying to fucking work us. We knew they were trying to get one over on us. We knew what was going on here, and we told them to fucking fuck off. Every president of the modern era, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, George W. Bush, Joe Biden, all of them. Netanyahu tried to run the same game, and none of them fucking bit except for Donald J. Trump.
By an ally that receives an enormous amount of aid.
Well, of course. And look.
Oh, my days. Oh, my word. Oh, no. So here's Hillary, and now she comes out and says something that everybody with a functioning brain was saying at the time, but Democratic insiders didn't say it until much later on. Listen to what she says here about Biden.
He made a terrible mistake. He made a terrible mistake for himself, his legacy, and for the country. He had said that he would not run again. And, counterfactual narratives are always a bit tricky. But I believe if he had kept to that plan and said in, say, the late summer of 23 that he wasn't going to run, that he was going to pass, the torch to the next generation, we would have had a real contest. And very sadly, I believe whoever emerged from that contest, whether it was the vice president or a governor or a senator or anybody else, would have beaten Donald Trump.
I think she's probably right. I think it's probably correct to say that like if there was a real election and a real process, then whichever Democrat came out of that would have been stronger and would have probably beat Trump. I think that's probably true. But again, you're saying this now, Hillary. Was Hillary out there saying this, when it was clear Biden had to go, but they were still resisting? Remember the war that the Biden people had with everybody else? Oh, no, he's fine, bro. He's good, bro. I don't know what you're talking about, bro. He's watching. He's going to do another fucking interview because he's so good, bro. Forget the debate. The debate was nothing, bro. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, that's when you needed to come out and say it, right? But here we are years later, and it's like, oh, yeah, obviously he needed to go, and he should have left earlier. It became, now the thing that we were all saying at the time that we were being gaslit about, now everybody's acting like they were with us the whole time, right?
So I think it was a terrible miscalculation on the part of President Biden. But once he didn't move and did not admit that he had said he was going to step aside and then decided not to, and held on for as long as he did, we were in a terrible dilemma.
All right, but now it wouldn't be a segment on Hillary Clinton if she didn't say something that just drives me utterly crazy. So everything so far has been interesting and pretty on point, but now she actually gives Trump credit on one of his worst things ever. Yes, I'm not kidding. This is so disturbing. Watch this.
I'm going to say something positive about Trump. So hold on.
Okay.
By the way, you don't have to do that. This is you don't got to hand it to ISIS. Under no circumstance do you have to hand it to ISIS.
Okay.
I've got a grip on my chair right now.
Trump's 20-point plan for Gaza is actually a pathway to security for Israel, reconstruction for Gaza, and the possibility of self-determination, however defined, for the Palestinians. There are a lot of people who, reject it because Trump did it, but it's the only game in town. There's nothing else. And I've engaged in some, kind of track two diplomacy with Israelis, not in the current government, former governments, military, intelligence, political officials, Palestinians, Arabs. So it's a very painful discussion because, these are experienced people with lots of scars to show for their efforts over many years, not just on peace, but on security particularly.
Hillary, this is quite literally a genocidal scam. This is Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff profiteering off of ethnic cleansing and genocide and land theft and turning Gaza into some AI tech billionaire feudal slave hell state. This is like one of the worst modern day atrocities that we've ever seen. There's nothing about this plan that's good for the people of Gaza. There's absolutely nothing. This is literally just a ruse to steal all of Gaza, effectively hand it over to the U.S. and Israel, turn it into an Epstein-class billionaire elite playground, do biometric screening and surveillance on whichever few Palestinians remain in their fucking feudal slave state. It is evil. It's atrocious. It's all about the self-dealing and the corruption. I've never seen anything so disgusting in my life. And you're giving it credit as if it's like a real serious proposal. There's nothing about this which is a serious proposal. There's nothing about this which cares about international law or the humanity of the Palestinians. This is the exact opposite on every front. This is like watching the Fuhrer talk about the future of Berlin and turning it into, this futuristic city. But what underlies that? It's fucking, it's ethnic cleansing, it's murder, it's genocide, it's every authoritarian policy you can imagine. Like, this is fucking gross, man. This is gross. So, just shocking, right? Just shocking that you would give Trump credit on. So, and by the way, let me just say, the criticism that liberals had of the left for many years is that, like, oh, you guys, they would say, like, oh, Bernie's like Trump, right? Like, they're both populist. They're similar. Like, you guys are, the horseshoe theory is true, and you agree with the right on too many things. This is what liberals would say about leftists. What you're seeing here is, no, this was always the criticism that us leftists had of liberals. Our criticism of the liberals and the centrists is like, you guys agree with Trump on too many things. You guys agree with MAGA and the right wing on too many things. And this is such a great example of it. My criticisms of Hillary was always the incredible amount of corruption that she was involved in, the supporting the illegal war against Iraq. Like, this was the problem. And now, supporting Trump and Kushner and Witkoff and their disgusting, devious, psychotic, genocidal plans for Gaza, that's just unforgivable, bro. That's just unforgivable. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to. I forget who was saying it, but somebody the other day was saying, I knew we were cooked when the corruption and bribery story came out about Tom Homan and nothing happened. So for those of you who don't remember Tom Homan, Hamhead Homan as I call him, his head looks like a literal block of ham. This guy was like, head of Border Patrol, head of ICE, and he was caught quite literally taking a bribe with hard cash in a paper bag. Like old school corruption type shit, like 1970 style corruption type shit, like smoke-filled back room, the whole bit, right? And like that story came out. For a day or two, people talked about it. Trump was like, fuck off, I'm going to keep him in power, I don't care. And then it went away. And then like a month later, he gets invited back on CNN to just do a hit on some other immigration issue. And like, here we are. This is now the world we live in. The world we live in is you can be caught on literal like videotape or audio tape committing the crime of bribery, like so brazen and egregious that if it went to a court, you would be found guilty because you're not doing the proper like legal way of bribing somebody, right? And like nothing happens. Everything's fine. Nobody cares. Well, guess what? We have another example just like that because the whole Trump regime is packed full of disgusting criminals. So MS Now says, Kash Patel may have a personal slush fund of taxpayer dollars to pay loyalist agents, says Jamie Raskin. Representative Raskin is demanding documents from the FBI director, citing claims that $8,000 payments are made to agents who carry out unlawful partisan and personal orders. So, in other words, something we've suspected and known all along, that there are direct orders to violate the law, to violate court orders, to go around the courts, right? Things of that nature. They're paying people extra to do the illegal things, bro. That's what they're saying here. In a world that made sense, all of these motherfuckers would be behind bars by the end of the day today. In a world that made sense, that's how it would function. But unfortunately, who's going to enforce the law here? Right? These are the people who are supposed to enforce the law, and they're breaking the law on a regular basis. They say FBI Director Kash Patel may have authorized taxpayer-funded special payments to his inner circle of FBI executives and agents on his protective detail, according to the ranking Democrat on the House Judiciary Committee. We have been receiving troubling reports that you may be using part of the budget of the Federal Bureau of Investigation as a personal slush fund to make tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars in unlawful bonus payments to loyalist MAGA henchmen who have engaged in misconduct, says a letter from Representative Jamie Raskin to Patel, obtained exclusively by MS Now. By the way, this is how authoritarian systems work. They've always worked like this. Like, the way you rise up through the ranks is to be the worst version of yourself and to totally, completely and utterly and totally sell out to your dear leader. And that's what this is. This is incentivizing unlawful behavior. That's what it is. Because as long as you're committing the crimes on behalf of the regime, you're going to get benefits. You're going to get rewarded for that. Committee Democrats have information that Patel has issued more than $1 million in awards, the letter says. The letter says the money went to special agents serving on his director's advisory team, which Raskin's letter describes as a curated group of agents who are willing to carry out your unlawful partisan and personal orders. It also went to agents on Patel's security detail, circumventing the mandatory maximum pay caps established by the statute. By issuing these side payments, your office may be knowingly breaking federal law. In some cases, nearly $8,000 payments have been made to multiple individuals every 2-week pay period, despite many of the beneficiaries of your selective generosity already maxing out on a federal employee's salary. Oh my God. So a lot of people can go to fucking prison. If this is true and they can prove it, when Democrats get power, a lot of fucking people are going to prison. A lot of FBI agents are going to prison. The letter says it is unclear exactly how much each of the agents has received, but we can confirm that numerous loyalist employees have received at least 5 such payments in consecutive pay periods, amounting to nearly $40,000 per agent. We can also confirm that you have depleted this reserve at such a frenzied rate that some of the payments have bounced back from exhausted accounts. It's not clear whether these bonus payments have simply been a corrupt attempt to slide cash to friends, or whether they are also meant to ensure the silence of the agents who witness your inebriation and accompanying professional negligence and misconduct. Raskin appears to be referring to recent reporting by The Atlantic magazine alleging that members of Kash Patel's detail have been troubled by his allegedly excessive drinking. Patel has disputed the story and sued the magazine, which stands by its reporting. Either way, these freelance awards appear to constitute gross mismanagement of public funds and an abuse of authority by the director's office. The FBI did not respond to a request for comment by MS Now. Raskin's letter asked the FBI to produce documents related to the payments. The minority Democrats have no authority to compel such production, but would gain it next year if they retake the House in the fall, as some political forecasts have predicted. Vote for the Democrats, bro! Vote for the Democrats! And when I read this, again, my reaction is like, yeah, of course. Why not? Why wouldn't they be doing this? Of course they're doing this. And the most disturbing part is, won't be talked about. Nobody will care. If this was happening, can you imagine Barack Obama's time in office if we learned that Barack Obama's handpicked FBI leader was doing this same thing so that FBI agents could do political persecution against Republicans? This would be the biggest scandal in the country. We would never hear the end of it. We would get every single detail of it. We would know everybody's name, who was involved in it, who are the corrupt FBI agents, what exactly are they carrying out, what are they doing, what are the crimes, so on and so forth. We would know everything. Instead, you're hearing me talk about this. MS Now had an article on it. Go do yourself a favor. Go see how many other outlets are covering it. I guarantee you the answer in terms of like traditional outlets, maybe a handful. At most, we'll talk about it, and it'll be like literally 5 minutes or less. But even in new media, I guarantee you many are not going to cover this because Trump has broken our ability to actually fully grasp his criminality and just how outrageous his actions are. We've all become callous to it. We've like exercised our outrage muscle to the point where now, in order for us to be outraged, you would actually have to have Greenland get nuked by Donald J. Trump. Which, by the way, that's on the table. That's on the table. Reporting came out the other day. Trump not only wanted to steal Greenland, but he wanted to give up Puerto Rico. He wanted to make Puerto Rico no longer a U.S. territory. And again, barely a mention. Nobody talks about it. Nobody cares. Here we are, the head of the FBI, personally making payments, illegal payments, so that his goons can carry out unlawful orders and commit crimes on behalf of the regime. And again, barely a peep. So what the Trump regime has shown is that they've now made it so the law is fake. The law is fake. You do what you want, and then you deal with the consequences later, if at all, right? And what I need Democrats to do is as soon as you get back in power, I need you to flex power also. I need you to understand that you can do a lot with control of the government. You understand? Like, instead of fetishizing the process of government, you should fetishize the proper outcomes, right? And this is something they haven't done for a very long time, at least since the fucking, at the earliest, the LBJ era, but probably the FDR era. But Kash Patel, the drunk, psychotic freak who's in way over his head, has an army of paid loyalists at the FBI who carry out all these crimes for him. So rest in peace to the rule of law. It's a very disturbing thing to witness.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
There appears to be something that's a bit of a law of nature that all of the worst people on the planet despise Graham Plattner and sort of dedicate themselves to trying to take him down. So a great example we covered on the show the other day. There's a Maine politician, a Republican, who wrote some piece against Graham Plattner and, like, you know, how, oh, his moral failings prove, like, he shouldn't be in the Senate. Well, it turns out that guy literally threw feces at somebody. He threw feces at somebody. We also have, there was a Democrat on TV going after him. It turns out that Democrat was a top staffer for John Edwards, and she continued to work for him after it came out that John Edwards cheated on his cancer-stricken wife. So you want to talk to me about judgment? Do me a favor. Fucking clean your own life up and your own decisions up before you start pointing the finger at fucking Graham Plattner. I also love Mika Brzezinski. Remember, you saw how she went after Graham? She was like, can you actually talk about the Epstein files and releasing them with the skeletons you have in your closet? And Graham was like, I had consensual affairs as an adult with adults. This is child sex trafficking we're talking about. Yes, I can call for the release of the Epstein files and feel perfectly comfortable about that. There's zero hypocrisy here. Like, he was actually shocked that somebody would make such a stupid point, and he's correct to be that shocked. So there is a streak here of the dumbest, worst people you know. My other favorite thing is watching the literal Republicans' Twitter account say, like, Graham Plattner, look at these. He was sexting 6 different women when he was newly married. And it's like, bro, your whole party is a death cult for a war criminal, pedophile, rapist. Republicans can't criticize anybody about anything ever again, ever, ever, ever. So the more they dunk on Graham Plattner, the more they try to take him down, the more the people of Maine sort of rally around him because they're sick of it. We're sick of the fucking moralizing from the least moral people on planet Earth. It doesn't make sense. And as long as it doesn't make sense, we're going to fucking point that out, and his support is only going to grow more and more and more. So, adding to the list of the worst people you know despising Graham Plattner, look at this. Former Jill Biden press secretary on Fox News attacking Plattner and Bernie Sanders. And before I even play the clip, let me just say this. Why should we care what you have to say? Former press secretary of Jill Biden? Like, why should anybody care? Like, who are you? Who are you? I'll tell you who you are. You are the token liberal to go on Fox News to tell the Republicans, actually, you guys are right about stuff and the left is crazy, bro. This is the oldest trick in the book. Fox has always done this. Invite on some Hispanic guy to say that Republicans are better for Hispanics. Invite on some black guy to say that Republicans are better for black people. Invite on some gay guy to say Republicans are better for gay people. Invite on some woman to say that Republicans are better for women. It's the oldest trick in the book. Oh, look, we have a token who's saying the things we want to hear. Look at this. Now, the best they could do is Jill Biden's press secretary say, I don't know about this Graham Plattner guy, but look at the specific argument he makes. This is crazy. Ready?
Do you think his policies, which are probably echoed by Ro Khanna and AOC, are those policies that can sell nationwide, perhaps state by state in a state like Maine, for Democrats?
I doubt it. I mean, I don't know many people that want to get rid of their private health insurance who have it. He wants to ban private health insurance. There's a bill right now in the United States Senate introduced by Bernie Sanders last year for Medicare for All. There's 47 Democrats, but only 14 signed on to it. So there's clearly a lot of problems with what he's trying to sell as on the policy front, in addition to his, moral judgments as well.
I love the implication that the American people are just like in love with their for-profit private health insurance. Yeah, go talk to people, and the first thing they'll tell you is, I sure do love my private health insurance company. They always look out for me. They're not always trying to fuck me with a pineapple in my asshole. No, everybody hates their insurance because everybody has a horror story about, oh, they didn't cover this thing. They were supposed to cover it. They didn't cover it. They tried to weasel their way out of it. The premiums go up every single year. They're really fucking, like, why do I even have to deal with them? What's with this fucking paperwork? Like, everybody's got these horror stories. I tried to call them, and I was talking to a fucking robot, and the robot wasn't listening to what I was saying. Like, everybody, but here he is like, Americans love their private, I don't think they want their private health insurance taken away. Well, if they had all the information and all the context as to like, hey, how about you don't have to deal with a middleman that fucking robs you, then yes, they'll support it. When you poll the American people, I've seen polls as high as 80% that support Medicare for all, right? Depends on how you phrase the question. Some ways you phrase it could scare people off, but anything that's more objective, people will say, oh yeah, I support that. That makes perfect sense. So I love that. The other point is, Medicare for all saves money, bro. Look at this from Truth Out. Easy to pay for something that costs less. New study shows Medicare for all would save $5.1 trillion over the next 10 years. Why? Well, again, you're getting rid of a rapacious, unnecessary, for-profit middleman. They say the most significant sources of savings would come in the areas of drug costs and administration. Yes, there's no reason to have a bloated bureaucracy under a Medicare for all system. So more of the money can go towards actual care. In fact, we know under our Medicare system, like, and the VA system, something like 95% or more of the money that goes into those programs goes to actual health care. When in the health insurance system, it's only like 80% goes to actual health care, and that's only after Obama mandated under Obamacare that it needs to be 80%. Because before that, it was like 60% or so that would go to actual health care. You don't need to pay for some CEO executive asshole to have a motherfucking yacht. You don't need to pay for that as, you know, your claims are getting denied over here. So I love that. I also love that this person goes after Graham Plattner and Bernie, and his big gotcha is, they support universal health care. Yeah, that's why we like them. And then he goes, when Bernie brought up his bill, only 14 of the 47 Democrats supported in the Senate. Bro, what you're literally saying is there's only 14 Democrats who are not bought by the for-profit health insurance industry. That's what you're saying. There's 14 who are not corruptible. That's what you're saying. And you think it's some sort of gotcha and that it makes the 14 look bad. It does not make the 14 look bad. Again, who are you? Why am I talking about you? Why should anybody give a fuck what you have to say about Plattner? You were literally just invited on here to shit on Plattner. That's the whole point. Now, by the way, shout out to Halal Flow, man, because Halal Flow was able to find this. Former First Lady Jill Biden's press secretary, Michael LaRosa. Do I want Susan Collins to win? Not necessarily, but she is much more my style than Graham Plattner. So here's a Democrat who openly is saying, yeah, I'd prefer Susan Collins to Graham Plattner. He doesn't want to own it fully, which is why he hedges with the, I'm not saying I want her to win, but I definitely want her to win. Bro, just go away. Go away, go away, go away. There's a lot of Democrats in name only who are fucking exposing themselves these days, right? There's a lot of Diet MAGA Democrats who are exposing themselves. Funny enough, as they expose themselves as Diet MAGA, they will still castigate people like Graham as if he's more MAGA aligned. No, I hate to tell you, just because he has the chud aesthetic doesn't mean he has the chud ideology. In fact, he quite literally has the exact opposite. I've heard him talk about masculinity. He sounds very enlightened compared to any Republican in this fucking country. And but they just have a bone to pick, man. They cannot help themselves. They fucking despise this guy with every fiber of their being. And I don't think they even know why they do. Okay, then I'll show you this. In the Wall Street Journal, they say, with campaigns that blend manliness with populist outrage, dude bro candidates across the political spectrum hope influencer-style swagger will win over voters. And then as you can see here, they have Spencer Pratt, the Republican who just got his clock cleaned running for LA mayor, alongside Graham Plattner. I fucking hate how dumb these people are. Oh my days. Oh my fucking days. No, Spencer Pratt is a fucking MAGA acolyte. He's a Trump guy. He's right-wing. He's also a reality star. There is no connection between him and Graham Plattner other than what? They're both males? That's it? They both have a dick? There's no connection. On every single policy, they're different. Even aesthetically. Fucking this so-called dude bro candidate, the Pratt guy, is like a preppy little twerp. He's got the frat boy rapist vibe like Jesse Waters. Whereas Graham Plattner has like the gruff outsider guy, like the former military gruff outsider guy aesthetic. So it's not, even on the aesthetic front, they're wrong. They don't even code the same as dude bro candidates. Can the media actually talk about policy for once? For once. I mean, again, look at this. With campaigns that blend manliness with populist outrage, dude bro candidates across the political spectrum hope influencer-style swagger will win over voters. The idea that you can say that Graham is about influencer-style swagger, it's not. You know what this reminds me of? When Zoran got elected, and now you have all these like centrist Democrats who are trying to make those man-on-the-street videos like Zoran, where they record themselves like walking in public and talking to people on the street and stuff, and they're misreading it. That's not why Zoran is popular. Zoran, yes, he is good on camera. Yes, those videos were cool. But the thing that makes Zoran popular is the stuff he's actually saying, the stuff he believes in, the stuff he's fighting for, his ideology, right? The charisma's great, but the ideology is the most important thing. With fucking Graham, it's the same thing. It's about the ideology. It's not about anything else. So I don't know, man. I don't know how to get through to these people, but they're a joke. They're pathetic. And for just once, I'd like to do a show without having to talk about the dumbest fucking people on planet Earth shitting on Graham Plattner. For anybody who is skeptical of Graham, you should no longer be skeptical because all of the worst people in the world are shitting on Graham 24/7, right? Let me ask you this. Why would you be anti-Graham if the Zionists and the Israel lobby are this anti-Graham? Like, doesn't that show you that they think he's the real deal, that he's actually going to stand up against Israel? Like, shouldn't that wake you up to that fact? That if the Israel lobby is all in against this guy, that should be a sign I definitely should support this guy because he's actually going to break with the status quo. So anyway, there you have it. For the love of God, people, stop making dumb arguments against this man.
Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, I must say, now I think I've seen everything. Coleman Hughes, who works for the Free Press, Barry Weiss's outlet, he is a black man, and he is about to, in a very direct way here, argue against equal rights and for apartheid in the context of Israel and Palestine. So prepare yourself, because this is an example of somebody being so smart that they're dumb. You know what I'm saying? People talk about horseshoe theory when it comes to politics. I think there's a horseshoe theory when it comes to intelligence. That you could be somebody who's very intelligent, and, you know, if you take an IQ test, you have a high IQ, but you lack common sense. And the horseshoe is you can be so intelligent that you wrap back around and you're actually a fucking idiot because you can talk your way into believing some of the dumbest possible things because you can come up with a list of rationalizations and justifications for the dumbest possible position. That's what Coleman is. Coleman falls into that. He's a horseshoe theory of intelligence kind of guy. So here we go. He's talking to Peter Beinart, and just prepare yourself. Let's get it.
I think you're perfectly right to emphasize that Palestinians in the territories don't have equal rights. They're subject to laws that they can't change or vote for. All of those things are right. And in an ideal world, I would like I like equality. I mean, equality is very important. It's a very important principle, but I don't think that, you know, when it comes to geopolitics, you should blindly follow the principle that sounds right in most cases.
We're 44 seconds in and we got I like equal rights, but, that doesn't mean you just like follow that in all cases, bro. Sure, equal rights are good, but are they good in every single case, bro?
In this case, I think the very likely, overwhelmingly likely consequence in the case of a binational state, I mean, you suggested it could be, you know, it could be called something like Israel-Palestine, right? Or like a binational state where everyone has equal rights. I think the very likely outcome of that at this moment, at this particular time, would be an extremely bloody civil war, civil conflict.
We can't be in favor of equal rights because if we're in favor of equal rights, they can't handle that. And that will lead to worse problems, right? You know, if you close your eyes and listen to somebody make that argument, you could almost see a slaveholder in the South saying that back in the slavery days. Or you could see somebody, during Jim Crow segregation saying that during segregation days. Look, I would love to give them equal rights, but if I give them equal rights, like, they can't handle that, and that's going to lead to violence. And so it's better to just continue to oppress them permanently. Amazing that a black man, certainly in the context of his rights In this country, he would say, well, yeah, no, we were able to handle that. But in that other context over there, for those other people that are not me, yeah, they're going to have to deal with not having equal rights, because if you give them equal rights, maybe it ends up worse off, bro.
I can't blindly sign off on that as if it's a good outcome for all the people that live between the river and the sea. And that's my basic view of it.
Right. So my response would be there's one state now. Israel controls all the land between the Mediterranean and the Jordan in different ways, right? And most of the Palestinians under its control don't even have citizenship. So Jews and Palestinians are living alongside each other in one state in a condition where one group has legal rights and the other group doesn't. And that, I actually think, is a much less safe reality for everybody. I think systems that give everybody representation in government are actually much safer because everyone has a nonviolent mechanism for having the government listen to them. And I think that, this is very difficult often for people who are on top to recognize, right? White South Africans were convinced that if it was a black government, then Mkhonto weSizwe, the military wing of the ANC, would slaughter them. But once black South Africans had the right to vote, actually, Mkhonto weSizwe put away its weapons. Protestants in Northern Ireland convinced that the IRA would slaughter them if they didn't control the police force and the military. But the IRA put away its weapons. Even in Israel-Palestine itself, we can see that Israeli Jews are far less afraid of Palestinian citizens than they are of Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza. There's something always kind of funny to me about the fact that Israeli Jews who would be terrified to go unarmed into Gaza go onto operating tables in Israel all the time at their most vulnerable and have literally Palestinian doctors and nurses wielding sharp objects over them while they're most vulnerable. Why are those Palestinians so much less of a threat to them? I think a lot of it is that those Palestinians actually have citizenship and the right to vote, even though they're very severely discriminated against. I think there's less violence and more safety for everybody when everyone has a nonviolent way of getting the state to listen to them.
That was fucking brilliant from Peter Beinart, and like 10 out of 10, no notes. I have nothing to add. This is just a brilliant, well thought out response to an objection from Coleman that seemingly he's heard this before, or some variation or iteration of it before. And here he comes out like a wrecking ball and he says, here's why that's wrong. Here's why equal rights actually does lead to a better outcome. Even if equal rights in the short term led to, more violence. The whole thing about a right is that it's sort of off the table. That's what it means for it to be a right, is like this thing can never be taken away under any circumstances whatsoever. It's the opposite of needing permission for, like, if you get a permit, that stems from the word permission. It's the opposite of a right. So that's like, it's supposed to be not debatable is the point, right? And Coleman is saying, no, we shouldn't have equal rights because maybe it'll lead to other consequences which are bad. Well, even if it would, I would still come down on the side of rights because rights are off the table. But what Peter Beinart is saying here is that's not even the case. Like, in reality, we would be better off. Everybody would be safer if everybody had rights.
I think political science literature actually bears that out.
So I would disagree there. I think...
I love okay, political science research actually bears this out empirically. I would disagree there. That's the thing, Coleman. It sort of doesn't matter. You would disagree? Like, it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter at all. Like, if the evidence and the research and the data says one thing, fuck your disagreement. You're wrong. You need to adjust your worldview. And this is the thing about Coleman, man. So first of all, is it motivated reasoning? Maybe. I mean, he works for the Free Press, which is owned by Barry Weiss, which is a rabid pro-Zionist outlet. And like, he knows maybe his job hinges on him taking this position. But he's certainly smart enough to not say this stupid shit, to not be a dumbass Zionist. And I can't help it. Every time I hear Colin Hughes talk, I think like, oh, you're just trying to be the younger black Sam Harris. From the cadence, the way you talk, the rhythm, the arguments you make, it seems like you're trying to be like Sam Harris. Well, that is definitely not somebody to emulate in the year of our Lord 2026, son. It's not going to go well for you. It's not going to go well for you. That's a guy who's forthrightly defending genocide now. Or he's a genocide denier. Take your pick, but let's keep going.
And I think political science literature actually bears that out.
So I would disagree there. I think it very much depends on the specifics of the case. So we view South Africa...
See, so he's against equal rights, but for nuanced reasons. He's in favor of apartheid, but for like nuanced, intelligent reasons, not the dumb reasons that like some hick would favor those things, right?
As mostly a success story, ending apartheid there. But I think in the case of Israel-Palestine, because of the facts on the ground, a one-state reality would probably not end up like South Africa. It would be much more likely to end up like Sudan or Liberia or Lebanon or Iraq. There are many cases.
Can we be serious here? If that were true, it would be because the Zionist psychopaths have so fully dehumanized Palestinians that they feel like they would rather kill them than live alongside them as equals. let's be serious here. So the problem would come back to the supremacy and the ethno-supremacy and theocratic tendency of the Zionists who run Israel. That's the fact. To the extent that this thing is not workable, it would be because the Israelis don't want it to be workable, and they'd rather kill every Palestinian than live alongside them as equals. And that's a bit of a problem, isn't it? That's a bit of a problem, but it's not a problem that's the fault of Palestinians. It's a problem that's the fault of the Israelis.
Like Sudan or Liberia or Lebanon or Iraq. There are many cases where the franchise and political rights have been extended, and it hasn't resulted in kumbaya or even, kumbaya with an asterisk, but has resulted in brutal and bloody civil wars.
Take your oppression with a smile on your face, because it could be worse. We could mass murder you all. We could genocide you all. Oh, what's that? We already did? That's right. But just accept your oppression, because I'd rather have this than a bloody civil war. Very, very convenient for Coleman to say this, as he enjoys his full rights in his country, and Palestinians don't have any rights where they are. I'm sure they'll appreciate this from somebody, a black man with full rights. They'll appreciate him saying, you're going to have to not have full rights and be okay with that.
In this in an overly combative way, but I do think it's intellectually lazy to assume that the right principle, right, the principle that like we live by in America would just lead to good results.
So it's intellectually lazy to actually believe in something. It's intellectually lazy when you say, I believe in secularism, I believe in democracy, I believe in constitutional rights and equality under the law. It's intellectually lazy to actually say, no, that means across the board, right? Well, I'll remember that next time you criticize an Islamic theocracy, that you're actually in favor of Israel having their own apartheid set of rules, having ethno-supremacy. And so now you have no grounds to criticize the Islamic theocracies that you criticize all the time because, hey, it's intellectually lazy to like take a standard and apply it across the board. It's intellectually lazy to believe in universality, right? That like, hey, if something's true for you, it's true for me. It's true across the board. This is just fucking embarrassing. This is embarrassing. This is what happens if you work for Barry Weiss's Free Press. You end up being a black man defending apartheid, a black man standing up against equal rights. Well, again, I'm sure the Palestinians love that you sitting there with all of your full rights intact are smugly asserting that they just need to suck it up and deal with it, as Israel constantly murders their family members, murders them, bulldozes their houses, steals their land, kills their kids, commits every fucking atrocious crime, starves them to death. I'm sure they appreciate this stand that you're taking. But shout out to Peter Beinart, because that was genuinely impressive. It was a great response. And if that calm, rational, like ironclad case doesn't work to get through to Coleman, nothing's going to work to get through to him. He's too far gone.
Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about this because Donald Trump is coming to absolutely nuke online freedom, and Democrats might just let him get away with it and, in fact, work with him on exactly that. So Politico here says, Meta drops opposition to kids' online safety bill if it overwrites state AI laws. The company's objections helped kill the kids' safety bill nearly 2 years ago. Okay, so a controversial deal in the U.S. could fundamentally rewrite internet freedom as we know it. The congressional deal would trade the deregulation of artificial intelligence for unprecedented federal censorship powers. Stick with me here. A high-stakes compromise is quietly brewing in Washington as the White House negotiates with congressional leaders to fundamentally reshape the digital landscape. Under the proposed deal, reported by Axios, the federal government would strip states of their authority to regulate artificial intelligence. Let me just pause on that real quick. We're all looking at the federal government, bought and owned by the AI tech oligarch demons, okay? They're giving these AI companies anything and everything they want, letting them run roughshod. But now what they're saying is, even if states want to step in where the federal government is lacking, if states want to step in to say, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't use all this water, you can't do the noise pollution, you can't do X, Y, and Z, they say, nope, we want to block you from being able to regulate at the state level, effectively halting progressive state-level efforts to hold tech companies accountable and restrict energy-heavy AI data centers. In exchange, lawmakers would push through 3 major federal censorship bills: the Kids Online Safety Act, the No Fakes Act, and a federal online age verification mandate. While framed as common sense protections for minors, civil liberties advocates warn these measures represent an unprecedented expansion of federal control over online speech. Let me pause to point out, they first started with these things when it came to porn websites where they said, we need age verification for these online porn websites. Well, what does that actually mean in practice? It means if you want to jack off to online pornography, you need to submit your driver's license to a government database. Yeah, I don't know about you. That seems to me like mass surveillance. That seems to me like the government having way too much information on what your personal kink is, what you're into. You have to submit your driver's license to jerk off? What the fuck are we talking about? What in the 1984 hellscape is this? So that's how it starts. It always starts with something that they feel like they got the strongest case for. Oh, yeah, no, it's just age verification to make sure the kids aren't tainted by pornography. But in reality, it's we have a mass database on everybody who's fucking jacking off and what they're jacking off to. Massive invasion of privacy. All right, let's continue. The backlash to this legislative trade-off cuts across typical political lines. Even conservative-backed organizations like the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, FIRE, have issued stark warnings, declaring that the package would dismantle the internet as we know it by empowering the Federal Trade Commission to dictate acceptable online speech. That's crazy, bro. So this would literally kill the internet as we know it, where it's no longer like, freedom, say what you want, do what you want, have anonymity. This would be like, the golden era is gone. The internet would no longer be the Wild West. It would be tamed. It would be only a government-approved speech allowed, which obviously that would be a fucking catastrophe. I mean, look who runs the fucking government, right? You want them making the decisions? Oh my God. Opponents argue that enforcing these rules would effectively eliminate online anonymity while giving the administration an incredibly powerful tool to censor dissenting political views and control what users see on major platforms like Instagram. Jesus. As the White House maneuvers to secure congressional backing, Americans are left facing a troubling dilemma. The long sought-after regulation of big tech and AI may come at the direct cost of their fundamental constitutional rights to free expression. So that's crazy. So they are literally coming to end the First Amendment as we know it. We also know they're trying to get rid of Section 230. Section 230 makes it so that, like YouTube, if I say something crazy that's potentially defamatory, YouTube can't get sued over that because they didn't say it. They just have the platform where I said the thing, right? That's what Section 230 does, is it makes it so that it's like limited liability for these big platforms where they can't be held directly accountable for something people say on there because obviously there's like billions of people on there now, and how could they be responsible for what billions of people say? It would make it unworkable. Nobody could run a company like that. A company like that couldn't exist if they can get sued over every little thing somebody says. That's Section 230. But they want to repeal Section 230, which would make it so there would be a torrent of lawsuits, which would make it so YouTube would immediately crack down on any speech that's even remotely controversial to try to make sure there's no lawsuits or slap suits in an attempt to basically shut them down. So it would be hell on earth if we go down that path. So this is terrible, bro. And by the way, there's no trade-off here. It's like a lose-lose. Both of the things that people want in this are fucking stupid and dumb and terrible and wrong. No regulation of AI, even at the state level, and a slate of like pro-censorship bills. I mean, it's just out of this world. What are we talking about? I'm disgusted, and not a single Democratic politician should support this in any way, shape, or form. If they do, we need to call their fucking offices and tell them, not in a million fucking years, should you strip away people's free speech rights like this online. We're going to have to fight a big battle here to save the modern internet as we know it. I think that battle is on the horizon.
Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to. All right, y'all, so Mike Pence, Trump's former vice president, has come out. He's finally broken his silence, and he seemingly snapped at the big guy here. But you're going to see what issue it's over, and it's a little questionable. So he goes on CNN, and they're talking about Iran. Let's listen to what he has to say.
On what's shaping out with Iran so far, does it make sense to you why the administration has still, 48 hours later, not released the text of that agreement?
Well, Caitlin, look, Iran has been at war with the United States and our cherished ally Israel for 47 years.
Okay, first of all, that's bullshit. Second of all, why does it look like he's had a nose job, like a botched nose job? Was he like a coke addict and it collapsed his fucking nostrils or something? His nose looks all fucked up. I feel like it's worse than the last time we saw it. Why does he have a neck-gina like Trump? Look at his neck-gina, bro. That neck-gina is popping right there. He got them beefy-ass lips, them roast beef-ass lips. God damn, son. But anyway, back to the point. No, Iran was not at war with us, you fucking prick. Not even close. This is the bullshit argument they use to try to justify us illegally attacking them and bombing their schools and hospitals.
And I strongly support it. the president's decision for the first time in modern history to take the fight directly to the mullahs in Tehran last year and then again this year.
I hate the mullahs shit when they go, the mullahs, the mullahs, the mullahs. It's such a fucking far-right, cheap-ass way of trying to gin up outrage. Oh, yeah, the mullahs.
And I do believe the president has earned some latitude in negotiating an end to hostilities. But I have very real concerns. Apparently like an awful lot of people on I just don't trust the Iranians. I've been too close to those issues from my time in the White House.
That's nice. I don't trust the Americans. I don't trust the Israelis. You know who's proven you can't trust them? The Americans and the Israelis. You remember when we were part of the Paris Climate Agreement and then Trump pulled out of it and ripped it up? You remember that? You remember when we were part of the Iran nuclear agreement, then Trump pulled out of it and ripped it up? You remember that? You remember when Trump made a trade deal with Canada, then he gets back in office and looks at that and rips it up, his own trade deal that he negotiated? There is no reason why anybody should trust us. Remember when Trump called on Soleimani for a negotiation, then murdered him when he showed up with a drone? Remember that? I don't trust us. I don't trust Israel. I don't give a fuck if you don't trust Iran. They've actually been trustworthy.
The Iranians, particularly with regard to their nuclear ambition, have essentially a legacy of lies. They lied their way through the Obama-Iran nuclear deal. We tore that up during the Trump-Pence years. Joe Biden returned to the politics of appeasement. And at least what we're hearing echo out of this potential memorandum of understanding, it smacks of appeasement. I mean, it sounds a bit like what I write about in my book.
You know what it sounds like? Losing. It sounds like losing because you lost. And yes, Trump is surrendering, but he should. He should surrender. He should follow through with it. We should have never attacked them. It was an illegal war of aggression against a country that didn't attack us. They also didn't attack Israel. We started everything. We bombed their schools. We bombed their hospital. We bombed their steel plants. We bombed their bridges. We went after their civilian infrastructure. We owe them reparations for all the fucked up shit we did to them. Hold this big, fat, juicy L, you dumb bitch. Hold it. Hold it. Hug it. Soak it in. Enjoy it. French kiss it for all I care. But you lost. You lost. This is what happens when you start an illegal war against a country that didn't attack us and they outmaneuvered us because they control the Strait of Hormuz, which means they control the global economy. Okay, you fucked up. Own it. That's it. Oh, it's appeasement. It's not fucking appeasement. You should have never done this war in the first place. Period. And they should have a nuclear weapon because at least then they can protect against the U.S. and Israel illegally attacking them again.
That the progressive left has long embraced appeasement against our adversaries like Iran, but there are voices on the pop.
He calls it appeasement. I call it upholding international law and all the states having the same rights. That's what I call it. That's not appeasement. That's called being intelligent.
Right that would have us pull back from our role as leader in the free world. I don't think this is the time to pull back. I don't think this is a moment for appeasement. And I think I would urge the president to stand firm on the fundamental elements that Iran has to dismantle and abandon its nuclear program, dismantle its ballistic missile program, renounce the support of terrorist organizations, and restore freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz.
I say you have to renounce support of terrorist organizations. You need to renounce your support of Israel and the IDF. The IDF is a terrorist organization. You need to renounce that and not give them any more money and any more weapons.
I mean, they keep talking about what a good deal it is. Obviously, we have not been able to see it for ourselves. Do you agree with I mean, you know the president really well. Do you agree with David Urban that if it really was a good deal, the president would stay around to sign it himself publicly and pass out pens like he does with so many executive orders on a daily basis?
I'd like to see us be at a place where the president would do just that, and that we would see people in both political parties in this country cheer it on. But look, at least what we're hearing about this, I mean, think about it. The language that has come out, and you're closer to sources there in Geneva than the rest of us, but the language that has come out, there's no mention of dismantling the nuclear program or the ballistic missile program. There's no commitment to ending support for Hamas, Hezbollah, or other terrorist organizations.
Because you lost. You're in no position to make these demands. You lost. They live in this fantasy world of their own making. We're like, oh, we were doing great and we had all the leverage and there was no problem here. We're about to run through all of our fucking saved up oil and gas, right? And as soon as we blow through that, we're cooked. When the strategic petroleum reserve is empty, gas becomes $6 a gallon, $7 a gallon. We're talking about mass shortages. We're talking about rationing, work from home orders. Everybody's summer fucking ruined. The approval rating of Trump dropping to 25%. And he's like, keep doing it because I like death. I like destruction. I want to kill the mullahs. Fuck you. You're an American mullah. How about that?
In contrast to that, there is immediate sanctions relief from the moment the MOU is signed. I mean, that could be upwards to $3 billion a month.
Good.
into the coffers of the Iranian regime.
By the way, let me be clear. Trump and Netanyahu, they're not going to follow through with this. Like, this deal is going to be fucked one way or the other. In fact, Israel already violated it by bombing Lebanon. That's my real criticism of Trump in this, is like, he agreed to this, and then he's already failing on delivering it, because you can't make a deal with him because he's a liar, he's a cheat, he's incompetent, he's a dipshit, he's a dumbass. This guy's issue is like, you should have never tried for anything that resembled peace in the first place. And why? Because he's a fucking war pig. That's why. Mike Pence is more mad over potential peace with Iran than he is at Trump literally trying to kill him. Having people on January 6th chant, hang Mike Pence, with a fucking noose right there. Mike Pence was less mad at that than he is at Trump for potentially getting some sort of a deal with Iran.
$100 billion in Iranian frozen assets being freed up, at least some of the language that's leaked, that would be released even before a final deal is struck in the event of progress. And then finally, calling for the United States and others to arrange for a $300 billion reconstruction fund when the IRGC and radical Islamists continue to be at the helm in Iran is deeply ill-advised. And again, I believe it smacks of the kind of appeasement that we saw during the Obama years, the kind of appeasement that Joe Biden tried to accomplish and was ignored by the Iranians.
I hate this guy so much. Even by his own standards, it wasn't appeasement at all when it comes to Obama, for example. That deal just worked, right? Like, oh, no nuclear weapons, got it, done, succeeded, next. But Biden didn't even get back in the deal. What are you talking about? The Republican mind needs to be studied in a fucking lab, because it is the only thing on earth that is wrong about literally everything. I've never seen a group of people more consistently wrong about absolutely everything.
And we rejected categorically during the first Trump administration. I think the president should just simply stand firm, draw that red line. And if the Iranians won't come to those fundamental terms that are in the interest of our security, Israel's security, and the peace and stability of the region, then I think we ought to let the armed forces of the United States open the strait and eliminate the threat on our terms.
You fucking jackass. They can't do that. They don't know how to do that. They failed. There's a 0% chance they go, just bomb them a bunch and it'll work. They tried it. Didn't fucking work. Didn't work. He acts like, oh yeah, we could just do it if we just press the button that says open straight. We can. No, we can't do it. That's the point. Trump actually knows that. You don't know that. Oh my God. He goes on to say, he's asked like, is it a mistake? He goes on to say, it's worse than a mistake. Somebody check this motherfucker's bank account. Tell me how much money the Israel lobby has given him. Somebody tell me how much money the Israel lobby has given him. Put the AIPAC tracker thing beneath if you find that bitch. But he's a special case because not only is he corrupted, but he's also another one of these evangelical Christian Zionist fundamentalists. So he's like Mike Huckabee, where he's really like more Israel first than he is America first. And he wants to see Jesus come back on a winged horse after Israel steals all the territory and creates a greater Israel and kills all the Lebanese and kills all the fucking Palestinians and everybody inside. This is what this guy's actual position is. And these are the people that have power. Okay? This is who is going to try to nuke this deal 17 ways to Sunday. And they're already succeeding at doing it. So isn't it amazing? Isn't it amazing that Trump's former vice president has no criticism at all? He's sitting back watching Trump carpet bomb fucking fishermen in the Caribbean and in the Pacific. He's sitting back watching immigrants get shoved in concentration camps and supporting it as a so-called Christian. He's sitting back and watching Trump protect all the Epstein pedophiles day after day. He's sitting back and watching little girl schools get bombed in Iran and oil facilities get bombed, threatening a global depression. He's sitting back and watching all these. He's no criticism, not a motherfucking peep of criticism. As soon as there's a whiff of a potential deal to end the hostilities and the bombing of schools and hospitals, I'm out. How dare you, sir? Why don't you be respectable and go back to doing things like trying to murder me? Oh, what a loser. Fuck this guy. Fuck Mike Pence. Anyway, that's the show, y'all. Love y'all very much. As always, you know the drill. Everybody do me a favor and subscribe to the channel. Click that bell icon. You can support the show on Patreon. Link below. Thank you to everybody who does that. Couldn't do this show without you. Remember, y'all, we're real independent media. Thank you again for making that possible. Sign up for Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack as well. Link below. And go sub to Corin's World. All right, I love you guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.